Next, to discuss the community embrace, please welcome from the Dempsey Center, Executive Director Wendy Tardif, and its founder, actor and producer Patrick Dempsey. Here to lead the conversation, welcome back Alison Stewart.
Look, but I'm sitting right next to you. So
can you hear me? There we go. Hi. Hi again. You guys have been here all day.
Yes.
I want to say you have been taking all of this in, and something that I've heard all day makes me think this is a great panel to end on, because we've heard treat the disease, but also treat the person. And we want to extend it to treat the family and the caregivers, which is what you folks are all about. But let's start back with your mom, your mom, Amanda.
Yes.
Give me a couple of adjectives to describe Amanda.
Well, she was salty in a very good way. She never gave up. She was a fighter. Much more sensitive than you would understand at the beginning. And I think through the center, through her survivorship, and my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 1997. She had over 12 reoccurrences, and passed away in 2014. And sometimes she felt she was very guilty about surviving. She didn't quite understand why people that she had a treatment with didn't make it, and she did. And through the mentorship and sort of coming in and volunteering at the center, that was very healing for her. So that was something that is a moment where we were having a good time there.
How did your mom deal with her cancer? Was she someone who was quiet about it? How did the family deal with it? This is before you opened the center.
Right. We were very fortunate because my sister Mary, who was one of the co-founders with me, worked in the hospital. And she helped us navigate the information from the doctors and the nurses. So without that, it would have been much harder. And to answer your question, my mother was very private. She's not a person who likes to sit around. It was really important for her to go to work. The work environment where she worked was People's Bank, which is now TD Bank. They encouraged her to come in to work. It gave her something to wake up and want to do, and motivated her, especially on the days when the chemo was very heavy, and after multiple recurrences, it was very hard for her. So the workplace environment was very important for her.
When did you open the center, and what was the original goal?
We opened in 2008. Well, yeah, it'll be 12 years in March this year.
Yeah.
The goal was really to service the community. There was a need in the community, and through my work with Amgen and the Breakaway from Cancer initiative, it really woke me up to this type of work that's doing. You have to understand, we do not treat the disease, we treat the person. We treat the whole person, the family, the caregivers, the children, everyone. And there was nothing quite like this around. And it really has changed the whole dynamic of the community profoundly. We just wanted to really service the community. That was the intention. That's now what we want to continue to do. But I really firmly believe the type of work that is being done there should go hand in hand as soon as someone is diagnosed. And I think with all of the people that have been on stage today, we're really grateful for their experiences, in the sense of, this title, People versus Cancer, it takes a team to get together to do this. We need the science-based, we need the doctors, but we also need the high touch. You talk about the support from your family. And also, too, I think, in coming out of some of the breakaways early on, is that, as soon as you're diagnosed, you have to wait maybe 10, 21 days before you get the result. And that's the point where we're going to come in and help, I think, because you need to work on the mind. You have to work on, how do I approach this? How do I approach it physically, emotionally, and spiritually? How do you get your family on board before you get the information? You don't even have the information yet. You don't know what the treatment's going to be. But yet this is where we can be beneficial and supportive. And that's why I'm more convinced now, more than ever, that this should go in every hospital, every community. There should be a wellness center like this. Complementary medicine is what it's called, and that's what we should be doing.
Wendy, can you describe some of the programming for our audience?
Sure. Well, first of all, we provide everything at no cost to the people that walk through the door. And we provide, as Patrick said, complementary therapies. So we have multiple acupuncture clinics. We do oncology massage therapy. We have a nutritionist on staff who does individual consultations plus classes, both educational and cooking. We have a fitness specialist on staff as well who does fitness consultations, kind of helping the folks that walk through our door, whether they're the cancer patient or the caregivers, whoever it is that's impacted by the cancer. All of our services are available to everybody, and we'll help people. If we don't have something that is right for them, then we'll refer them out into the community to other resources. We also do other educational programs. We have a healing tree program, which is our youth and family services. So again, it's really enveloping the family around the person that has the cancer. We really focus a lot on the kids in a family that are impacted by a loved one's cancer. Similar to it made me think of the Broadway guys that were here today, and what they were talking about in the new initiative that they started is a lot of like what we're doing, is really helping those kids in a family that are impacted by somebody else's cancer. We do adventure-based work with our teen group. We have a young adult group. We have multiple support groups. We do individual counseling. We have 5 social workers on staff. We do family counseling. We do little kiddo counseling. We do play therapy, sand therapy. It's pretty much the gambit of all of those supportive services. So we think of the patient in the middle, the family in the middle. They're getting their medical treatment, but we're providing that full circle of care by providing the supportive care for that family.
I was interested in the mentorship program. I was sort of cruising around the website. Can you describe what happens when you have a cancer mentor?
Yeah, so the Cancer Mentor Program, and there's a few of them around. Ours is for people in Maine, and so it's pairing up somebody who's been recently diagnosed with cancer with somebody who has a similar experience. It might be based on their age or the type of cancer that they have, whatever that circumstance is. And they're paired up, and it's kind of like buddying up, talking about experience. The person who has the history of having their cancer a while ago, they can really share that experience with a newly diagnosed cancer patient and kind of help them through some of the questions that they have and their journey as well.
Yeah, that connection between the two is really profound.
Yeah.
There's an immediate connection in chemistry where there's an understanding that's unspoken. And like I said, for my mother and for other people, it's a really healing experience for both. The other thing that we need to talk about, too, I'm sorry to run with, is really survivorship, too. I think this is the thing, is like where people are being diagnosed earlier and living with it longer. And this is an important part of what we're going to develop and continue to develop.
Did you always know that this was going to be in Maine? You could have done this in California, where you work. You could have done it in a big city where fundraising is a lot easier.
Right. We have an amazing community that has really stepped up. Individuals, local businesses, corporations, and we're very fortunate. But if you want to make a difference, all you have to do is turn around and look in your neighborhood or look in your backyard. And I got some great advice early on in my career: never forget where you come from. And it was like, where can I make a big impact? Where is the need? And it also sort of comes from my mother's need, and I went, that's what brought it there.
I remember, too, when with Breakaway from Cancer, somebody asked you, what's your cause?
Right. So it was right around the time the show Grey's Anatomy just sort of launched, and it sort of a lot of attention. And they're, what do you stand for? What's your cause? And I, never been asked that. Never thought about it. And it really made me step back. And then I started looking at the partners that were in Breakaway from Cancer, and I was like, this is what's needed in our community. I called home and I was like, okay, let's do a little bit of investigation to see if it can be supported by the community and by the hospital, and they were involved at that point.
When you first started the project, who was somebody or some entity, you don't have to say names, that they weren't supportive? They said, I'm not sure this is going to work. I'm not sure this is what our community needs. I'm not sure this is what cancer patients need.
I don't think we
run into that at
we
all?
didn't come up against that, no. No, I think it was such a fresh idea. I think getting people to wrap their head around acupuncture and sort of high-touch sort of approach and not treating the disease, treating the person, was there. It was around. And I think once people started to catch on, once they understood what it was that we were doing, a lot of people thought we were an infusion center, that we were a research center, and that we do a bike event the Dempsey Challenge, which is a primary fundraising activity that we do. So it's 100 miles, 75. It's basically to promote, getting people active, getting people out. My mother liked walking. We have it for runners, cyclists, just to get people proactive. And in that first year, we raised over $1 million. So it shows you how supportive and how profound the impact of cancer is in our community and our state.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Those bikers brought in a lot of money.
A lot of money, and especially in this community.
And the runners and walkers too.
Yeah, all of
a
it
lot of
together
money,
the whole
yeah.
weekend. We've been consistently doing that. We're seeing more people now, so our needs to raise money are much greater because there is a cost to these services, but there's no cost to the patient. And one of the speakers earlier, you realize that a lot of these services are not covered under insurance. So when people come in and they realize that the services are free, they are absolutely floored. And some people who have the means do not necessarily want to take it. And it's like, then, pay it down. We'll do a donation. Don't worry about it. Right now, you need to concentrate on what's good for you, and we'll worry about everything later on.
Oh, that's so interesting. When did you know, Wendy, that this was working? Was there a day? Was there a family? A story you can share when you thought, you know what, this is working?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Yeah, I would say it's, pretty much every day when you have people in our reception area and it's really cool the other day. So we have quite a big area. We have a little kids area, and we had probably, 8 or 10 people in the reception area, and we had somebody that was doing a puzzle and a couple people that were waiting for massage therapy, and you start talking to them, and they're talking about what a difference it's made in their lives, especially in terms of helping them to adjust to this new life with a diagnosis. And then you get someone coming out of the acupuncture clinic that's talking about how their pain has subsided since they started the acupuncture sessions. And I think really on an everyday basis, and it really started that way right from the beginning.
You see the impact as soon as they leave. When they come in, they're very nervous. I think it's really hard for them to step into the center because in many ways they're dealing with the reality of like, oh, I do have this disease. I'm having to deal with this. And then we sort of greet them warmly and say, what can we do? What can we do to make your life better? Come in, we'll show you our facility. We'll show you what we have for programs. Usually they're brought in by the doctors who are working on a science-based platform for us. And when they leave, there's a little bit of a twinkle in the eye. There's something they're relaxed. There's some feeling of just this optimism and warmth. And it's all through that community. And we're also in an old mill building, and I think environment is really important on how we treat people. Because if you go into a clinical environment, it's not the warmest place to be, and it makes you feel worse. So we're in an old restored mill. We're on the top floor. We have a great view of the city, and the intention was to make it feel like someone's loft space, so that you were coming into someone's home, and it becomes their home. And that was the feeling. And we've noticed a big change there. As soon as people come in and see the environment, or they come and they visit, that's important to them.
What is the relationship with the medical community?
Well, we have to be agnostic. So the last 4 years, since 2015, Wendy has been working incredibly hard at getting our 501c3. So we're no longer under the umbrella of any hospital. It's really important for us to sort of, because we're a nonprofit, money's important to us, but we're not about making money. And forgive me, I have a little bit of a cold. So we want to be in the center and be able to have relationships with all of the hospitals, not get caught up in the politics, not get caught up in the bottom line. We just simply want to service their patients in a way that helps them get them through that process a little bit easier and give them the stamina that they need. Which is a challenge, which means you have to reach out. We have to be communicating. We have to understand what the hospital dynamic is, how we can fit in, and then now people are coming to us. Oncology hospital services are coming to us now.
And I think we have a similar, I guess I will call it a little bit of an issue, as a lot of communities do. We had several meetings at Sloan Kettering yesterday, and they're dealing with some of the same things we are. Of course, in our state of Maine, we only have 1 million people in the whole state, and it takes about 10 hours to go from one end to the other. And here we're talking about a city of millions of people, right? And we kind of both are dealing with the same thing in that not every medical provider feels really strongly about the services that we provide and what it's doing for their patients. So we struggle with that in Maine too. So when you have an oncologist that is calling you up, this is like one of my favorite stories, and saying, I need to come to the Dempsey Center and see what you're doing, because my patients that are coming into my office that I see are doing really well are telling me that they're coming to your center for services. And that's when you know that you kind of hit on something with people. So we still have a lot to do in that area, yeah. But that's something that we're working really hard on right now.
I'm going to take questions through Slido in just a few minutes. Something you mentioned, which was really interesting, Patrick, you said the reality of coming to the center is facing what's going on in your life. And I did notice one of your programs is about power of attorney and living wills, and you talk to people about, and caregivers about that part. Why was that important to include in your program?
Well, I've had the entire journey with my mother, and these are things that you don't want to have to deal with. But while they're with you, you need to have these hard discussions of like, what do you want to do? How do you want to deal with your house? How do you want to deal with these things? How do you want to deal with your children and things like that? It's important. And that also, once those decisions are made, it makes it much easier for people to take the stress away. How can we relieve the stress, the anxiety, the fear? There's so much unknown all the time. So if we can get these things answered and things in line, hopefully they don't have to go through with it. But that's part of it.
You have these young families that are being diagnosed, and the first thing they think about isn't really about themselves. It's about, how am I going to talk to my kids about this? And that's some of our most special memories there, really, is when these young families come in, these parents, and they talk to our counselor in our Healing Tree program about, how do I talk to my kids about this? And the relief that they feel as they go through that process and understand better what they need to do in order to help their kids, and then they can take care of themselves once they know that they're going to be okay.
So it's having the hard conversations in a safe space, in a way.
Right, and giving them the tools to empower them so that, and everybody's different. We talk about every cell is different, every person has a different need. Sometimes it's just a simple thing. You just need to listen, or we don't have firewood. We need to get firewood. Our sole way of heating the home is a wood stove, and we don't have the money now to afford 2 or 3 cords of wood. And you find ways to get it to them.
What if someone come in, Wendy, and say, hey, I need this? What's something, can you do this for me? What's something and you've done?
Well,
something you've responded to?
What are you specifically asking for?
Yeah.
And then you try to, if it's in, or we'll find someone,
Or when Patrick's there, he'll go out in the reception and talk to everybody, and he'll ask them that question, what is it you need? And then the next thing we know, the next thing you know, we're getting firewood down at Patrick's house to bring up to someone 3 hours away, And one of our board members is pulling all the people together to go down and pick it up and drop it off. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, say Mainers are not shy, but
Mainers are amazing people, very philanthropic and supportive, but private.
Patrick, this view. I am a mother with metastatic cancer. What are any examples of things / words your mother shared that I might share with my 2 sons on this journey?
Stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, stories. Tell them about your life.
So sweet.
Sorry.
Good
Sorry.
answer.
Yeah.
I know, you got me off guard too.
It brings up a lot for me, certainly because of that. But you want to know about your mom, and your kids want to know about your journey and your childhood, and you want to clear the table before they go or not go. That's. I'm very grateful that I had that conversation.
Yeah, I do.
And she had it with me. So she was free to go too.
Yeah, I lost.
In this case, I hope you don't have to do that.
I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer, and we had this sort of same, because it's quick.
Yeah.
And you have to make decisions quickly.
Yes.
And talk to each other about important things right now.
Because there's no going back. And one of my siblings, my sister, didn't have that opportunity, and she still lives with that today. There's no closure there. So it's important to have the hard discussions and get it so you can move. We're in this form for just a short period of time. We have something to learn, and if we can get it cleared out, then we can move on.
I'm 53, I need glasses. Any plans to try to expand services of your center to outside of Maine?
Well, I think the thing for us is really spreading the word of what this is that we're doing, and that if we can communicate and connect with other like-minded centers around the country, so that there is, collaboration and being able to, if I run into someone in Texas and like, where can I go? Where can I get these services? Then we know where to recommend that person, and that's our thing. So, yes, I think we would like to, but more importantly, to take care of our community and then to connect with other communities.
We have a lot of visits from people from all over the country, actually even Canada, that come and visit and want to know more about how we started, and we're happy to share that kind of information because we just see it benefiting all families, wherever there's that heart of a community that really wants to do something like what we're doing.
Right. And I truly believe it should be in every hospital. It should be, as soon as you're diagnosed, this type of support should go hand in hand. It will only show you the benefits. And it's really important, too, there's a lot of talk about data. So how do you quantify success in this type of work? And that's something that we're working towards, and we need to connect with universities and be able to do that. And that's why we're here at events like this, to be able to network. And that's the beauty of events like this.
What is something that we need to think about for the caregivers? Because I understand it's a big part of what you do is take care of the people who are taking care of their loved ones.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
It's hugely important.
Yeah, and I think for us, it wasn't about like, how do we do something different for them? It was, they're part of that journey too. And so everything that we offer to caregivers. So we have multiple support groups. We have individual counseling for caregivers. We also have a multitude of programs that kind of take you through a continuum with people that might have advanced cancers and then through bereavement and grief. So for us, it's really about treating everybody that's in the family, not just the person that has the cancer.
Yeah, the impact of cancer in a family is profound, as we all know. I'm sure everyone in this room has been impacted, in that the caregiver is always trying to be strong to do it, but you need a recovery time. You need time to step back and take care of yourself. And sometimes they feel guilty that this is not about me. And it's like, no, it is about you, because if you're not strong enough, you're tired, you get sick, then it affects everything. And you need it. Yeah. And you're valued, and that's...
Our time is up, but I'm going to give you the last word if there's something you want to say that you think is important, since you've been here all day, which I think is impressive. A lot of people parachute in and out.
Well, I think
all day, really taking it in. You've taken in every session and we were talking backstage, and really moved you.
Well, we learned so much today, right? And everyone's sharing their stories, and you start to see how it's all connected. Look at our presenting sponsors. That's the top. That's the medicine, things like that. And then our doctors, and then our patients. And it's like we're all together in this. And when we work at it, I like a race team. You have your engineer, you have the driver, you have the mechanics. It's the same principle as a sports team. You have to put the team in place. And everybody has their role on that team. And you're going to get down, I don't know if anybody watched the game last night, but it was a fantastic Monday Night Football. But it was but the lesson here is it's a team that won that game. There were individual star players that stepped up when they needed to. Caregivers, patients, doctors, whoever that star player is going to be on your team. That's how you have to approach this. And then it takes the pressure off everybody. I mean, all these doctors cannot possibly be there all the time for their patients. There's too much going on. They're downloading data. There's too much on their plate. How do we help them out? How do we support them so that they can do their job and that their patients can get the information that they need in a calm manner and they can digest it? And I think it is a profound moment in this, there's so much potential right now, but we have to be very disciplined on how we move forward and take one step at a time so it's sustainable. So I think that's what I would say. What would you say, Wendy? We're happy to be here. I can't tell you how grateful we are.
I do feel the same way that, it takes a team and us all learning from each other and not having the ego be part of that in terms of wanting to take credit for whatever it is. We have to all learn from each other and work together if we're going to really have better outcomes for not only the cancer patients, but also the families of those patients.
Right.
Wendy and Patrick, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you all
Alison.
very much. Thank you.
Can we stay?